Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Talk Bridal to Me. I am here with Theresa Worley with Design House Florals. She has been in the bridal industry about 11 years and is a national educator with the Fleur Society, which is an educational platform for florists and event planners. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. So tell us a little bit about your journey into florals, because you started as an event planner. Is that right?
Yeah, I did. I started in 2013 as an event planner and loved that. It just kind of happened naturally for us. It was one of those things growing up. I knew I wanted to own my own business, just never knew what I wanted to own it in.
Yes. You're like, what am I good at? I don't know.
And so we actually started our journey, and it was supposed to be a coffee stand. And of all things, coffee to weddings, goes hand in hand. Right? And florist. How does this happen?
There you go.
So basically, long story short, as we were going through a process of coffee stand, a really good friend of mine at the time was like, why don't you own an event planning company?
Oh.
And I looked at her and I was like, I can do that. She's like,
yeah,
why not? She's like, you plan all the parties like for businesses. I worked with corporate event, for corporate companies, and I've always done those things. And I was like, I can really do that. I can do what I love.
How fun would that be?
So, it was like, told my husband, and we shifted from coffee to event planning. Started it there. Mm-hmm. I sent you my whole story background, but so basically jumped just feet first into becoming a planner for weddings and events. And then as we continue through that, in our area, in our industry, like, because I've been doing this for 11 years.
You're like, it's been a minute.
Well, yeah. But even when I first started, Pinterest wasn't even as big as it is now. Like it was still in its like, you'd say the word Pinterest and people would say, what is that?
Yeah.
So we didn't have the things we could pull from today then to create these amazing events and the big things. And so I had big, grand ideas, and I fell in love with floral for weddings and events as a planner. I felt it just elevated a space. And it was really difficult at that time to get my ideas across as far as size, grandeur. We were living in a world where the budgets for weddings was $10,000.
Yeah.
So asking for a quote from somebody and you're spending $10,000 on florals, they looked at me like I was crazy.
Yes.
No, that's what my client wants. Like,
yes. I
get it, but just please. And it just wouldn't happen. It was like people were kind of afraid at that time to cross that bridge.
Yes.
And also there really wasn't anything, like I call myself an event florist. That's what I specialize in, is large events, and it typically tends to be weddings.
Yeah.
And we make things big and over the top. That's just kind of my style.
I love it.
And really full. Yes. Just, I feel that everything should be impactful. Everything should have its moment. If you're spending the money on it, let's make it look like you spend some money on it.
Absolutely.
Flowers are expensive.
Yes.
And that's just all there is to it. But so I'm trying to make a long story short.
No, I love it. Keep going.
So basically there's just a hole. And it was like, I just kept getting everything was just falling flat, a little short, not that what I wanted.
The wow factor.
Maybe it was me. Maybe my communication wasn't there. I don't know. But I thought, you know what? I'm going to learn flowers. Screw it. I'm going to just jump in and let's figure this out. And I started doing tons of education. I just kind of soak up anything and everything I could learn about florals and started practicing and realized this is my passion. This is my thing. And so I decided to let go of the event planning and became a florist.
Oh my gosh.
So never in my wildest dreams did I think I'd ever be working with flowers.
No, I'm the same way. Like I never thought I'd be doing makeup.
Yeah. It was just never a thing.
Never a thing. And for me, it started as a place where I just needed an outlet for mental health.
Okay.
Wherein it was just one of those things where I'm like, oh gosh, I need something to feel a little bit better about myself, and was going through some really difficult health issues. And it was kind of therapy.
Yeah.
for me, because it was one of those things where while I was doing my makeup, I wasn't really focusing on the other things. I was so focused on the eyeliner that I had you have no other thoughts at that moment when you're like 5 steps into a wing
and my existence.
You're like, this is either going to look amazing or terrible. And that's your only crisis at a moment, not anything else. But I realized like how much better I felt about myself and realized the power of just self-perception and how we perceive ourselves. And so that's how I got started with makeup. And I never would have thought.
Isn't it funny how the stories we weave and where we end up in life? So that's pretty fantastic.
It is. And I talk to so many people that are like that, whether, it's photographers or videographers. And they're like, oh yeah, I started, filming my son's first steps. And now and I filmed this montage and it turned into me now doing weddings 10 years later. And I'm like, who would have thought?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what would have happened. But I can always tell when it's a Theresa wedding. Because it's always like these big florals and archways. And I'm just like, it's like walking into this botanical garden of fairies. And it's just so fun. And I remember the first time I met you, you like came with this giant truck. And I'm like, what is happening? Like this giant production, there's people walking all over with clippers. And I'm like, either she's the gardener or she brought it all these herself and you had brought them all in yourself.
We did, yeah. We're known for that. Like the people will see our truck pull up like, who is here?
This is not catering.
The
Usually they come out with a la 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 la, like here's some bouquets in a box. And you're like, no, we have 20 boxes of these things, an entire team of people just strategically placing flowers.
Yeah, we try our best. You know, it's just about growth and, I just want to make sure that we're doing the best we can, giving our clients the best results. I've invested a lot in our business so that we can do those things. And there's something to be said for my florist friends who are still schlepping buckets and florals out of the back of their vehicles. We've all started there. I started there. It just takes a toll on the body. And
I'm sure.
I live by the work smarter, not harder.
Yes.
So, we just keep investing every year back into the business and just growing it so we can build our team and just make it so it's easier for all of us, but we can make some really beautiful artwork with the flowers.
Absolutely. Well, I know you have a pretty specific design process and you do renderings, right? Is that correct? So tell me a little bit about how that works.
So I do computer generated renderings online. And so I came around doing that because I have big ideas. And sometimes I find that my clients just don't see the vision the same way I do, because I walk into a space and I'm like, ooh, let's flower here and do this there. And it's just, I can see their eyes going, what?
As you're like, boof, boof.
Yes. So the renderings really help bring my vision to life and help my clients understand exactly what they're going to be getting, exactly what I'm talking about. And it's very, very helpful for my clients too, because then I'm all about transparency, like 100% with my clients. Just no BS. Like, let's just be honest, Pinterest is a love-hate. I love it because the inspiration is so magical and wonderful.
But then it's also so magical and wonderful.
but it's unrealistic for a lot of brides. The education out there of cost is just not there. Don't get me started on like the knot and those places. I mean, you just try to Google average cost of wedding flowers and the numbers are totally unrealistic. So it can get really difficult sometimes because we come with this dream for these events.
Yes.
Which I love. But not everybody has $150,000 to spend on just floral.
Exactly.
Which Pinterest can give. That's what it gives.
Yeah.
So the renderings are really helpful because I try to make them as close to what they're going to get as possible. Try to give them the lifelike sizing. So then they really see what their investment's going to look like.
Yeah.
It's very, very helpful to them. And to me, it's probably one of my favorite things when I can take an image I drew and then look at the real thing and see how darn close it's hitting that, how close it is.
That's awesome.
To being pretty darn right on.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure it helps your clients because I know, like, even just in communication with my husband, I'm like, can we just move that thingy over here? And then we'll just kind of, and then we'll just kind of zhuzh it. People don't know what those words mean.
Yeah.
And my husband will just look at me with eyes like, you want to use some.
He speaks Anna.
Yeah, he does. He's just like, okay, yeah, I think we know. But not everybody is going to speak Anna or Theresa.
Yeah.
And so you're like, okay, instead of zhuzhing and fluffing and, all the things, you can have that 3D design and rendering and say, okay, this is what it's going to look like. And it's kind of, I'm sure it's that aha moment for your bride where they're like, oh, I see it.
It absolutely is.
Yeah. That's so fun.
Yeah. And it's great for my team too, because then I can just be like, here's what we're doing, guys. And then go, oh, I got this.
Yes.
So then we can all just be working and it's not as, I don't have to be going around and being like, oh, okay, you missed the mark.
Helicopter florist.
Yeah. Exactly.
Be like, no, put that one over there, switch it, now redo it all.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Tell me a little bit how your team got started. Like, was it one of those things where you're like, okay, I need another person, and then it just grew?
Yeah, I mean, kind of, it's just, I'm not afraid of big. I'm not afraid of like anything new. And so, I mean, that's just kind of like my motto, I guess. I think that was one of your questions. Like, and for me, I love a challenge. I love, it's just part of my personality that has been like, to just tell me I can't do something and I'll say, watch me.
Yeah.
And so with that, when we take on these clients and we have wonderful clients who come to us with great ideas and it's like, okay, yeah, we're going to do this and we need a team to do it. And so from there, I have some really wonderful mentors in our industry that aren't local. One of the things I love about Instagram and like the social media is being able to connect with other people in our industries. And I've developed some amazing mentors that I look up to. And it's just like, one day I'm going to have a production like that, and so they've guided me in this, the last 10 years of how to grow, how to add a team. And I do all on the job training. So my team primarily consists of like friends from high school who like, want to like weddings to people who aren't in the industry. It's like magical.
Yes.
And they just want to be a part of it. So I have these amazing women who they just sign up and they're just, it's so simple. It's like, I just say, do you want to be a part of my team? Do you want to learn florals? Because I teach everything.
Yes.
And so a lot of it starts as just schlepping buckets. Like I have people, men and women that come and help and they're just happy to be part of the day.
It's so fun.
Yeah. And we just kind of do on the job training and learning and they choose what events they show up to. It's not like, this is not a full-time job. It's I put out an email saying, hey, we have this event. This is the location. Who wants to come and be a part of it?
How fun.
And that's kind of how we started. And over time, you have those people who just have a passion for it like you. And of course, we have people who come in that have absolute amazing skills and training. Like it just kind of organically happens that way. So we now have gotten to the point where we have team leaders and people where I can just say, hey, this is your side. They just know what we're doing.
Yes.
They know how to design it, over the time. But I've trained a lot of them myself, as we're actually designing the flowers and blooms. We sit there. It's almost like a mini class of like, here's how we do this. Because flowers are beautiful. There's not, you can't do, you can. There's ways to mess them up. But
I would.
I would
mess them up.
It's harder than it looks. But, I find that I'm a better teacher sometimes. Like I see things in other people's work that maybe I don't see in my own. It's interesting. I can identify like, okay, we don't have as much push and pull. You got everything in a line, but
yes.
So it's fun. I love to teach.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's very cool. So when you work with a bride, do you do most of the design aspect with her? Like that's something that you do, or do you have team members that do that as well? No, I do
all of that. So, there's like two sides of it. So we have our design week. So when flowers come in and now we're starting to process flowers, putting the arrangements together. So that's where the team comes in. But on the flip side of that is I do all of my consultations with every bride. I do all the design elements for them. So everything comes from me. And then I have final touch on everything also. Yes, so regardless if my team made something, I'll always go in behind them and just double check, make sure it's perfect.
Yeah.
Adjust what we need to. So I always have the final touch.
That's amazing.
But I design it all. And then, but a lot of it's just, I try not to I don't know. I'm a little humble. And as far as I don't think I'm this amazing artist or this or that. It's just, take my bride's vision and I'll guide them, because I'm supposed to be the professional. So we know, right?
I'm supposed to be. Isn't it always funny when people are like, I trust you. And you're like,
Oh, no, that is my wheelhouse. Like we're so big on that with what I do is that I don't book every bride. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
And it's my choice sometimes, maybe they don't want to work with me and it's vice versa.
Yeah.
Let's be totally honest about that, because if they don't trust me, then I'm never going to make them happy.
Right.
So when I have the bride that has that full trust, and the brides that are like, you know what, just do your thing. Like, here's what I love. Here's my colors. Here's my inspiration, and go with it. You will get the best work from us.
Oh, yeah.
Every time over.
Yes.
But if you're the client that is like type A and it's like, it has to be this flower, it has to be this palette. And if you're really just like cinching down on us,
micromanaging.
That's really difficult for us to please you and for us to like know that we're doing our job well.
Yeah.
Because you just start second guessing because we're human.
Yeah.
We're the professional, but we're human.
Yeah.
And you just...
Gosh, maybe they do know better than that.
Well, are they going to like this? I hope they love this. Is this the shape she wanted? I really hope this is the shape. I mean, you find yourself stressing out. So I've learned over the time that, if there's someone that just comes off like where I just don't think they have that full trust.
Yes.
If they can let go, then I usually just, realize that we're not the right fit.
Right.
And that's important, both ways. It's important for for their client to find the person they feel most comfortable with. And it's important for us too, to hold our ground and be like, we're just not the right fit. You're just not my client. That's all there is to it.
Absolutely. I know. I feel mixed reactions when people say, I trust you. Because I'm like, this is your face. Like, you need to give me. So I'm always asking those questions to try and figure out, okay, what can I do with your trust that is going to translate? Like, we need to have those parameters. Yeah. So you can't just go in and be like, we're just going to do red, white, and blue. Like, oh, sorry, that's not what I was wanting. Oh, okay.
There's always parameters. We follow
There's always parameters.
So that's what I mean. As I'm not trying. I don't like take my brides and be like, oh gosh, no, this isn't going to work.
Those colors are just not good.
Not going to happen. Not part of my brand. We ain't doing it. Like, that's just not me. It might just be more like, we talk about having like what we call like a sophisticated color palette.
Yes.
So trying to bring in blooms in between their stark, hot and cool flowers. And just so that way it's like a color story that you can create. So you want to try to stay away from that polka dot art of like, I want red and white. And then you have nothing in between. So then it just looks very polka dotty no matter what you do. So.
Oh, yes. Well, my husband and I got married 12 years ago, and I got our flowers from Super One in the florist. We had a budget of $4,000 for our entire wedding from start to finish. And I told her, I said, well, our colors are like red, like a burgundy, a gold, and a white. And I looked back and I was like, oh, my husband and I were like, it looks like a McDonald's. Like, it just does not look cute. And my bouquet was like this random greenery with daisies and roses. And I was like, okay, I mean, like, it'll work. But I look back and I'm like, that's not cute. That was not good. But I walked with it down the aisle, took some photos with it, walked back, and that was it. But those were the only florals we bought, and then some like boutonnieres. And
I was right there with you. Yeah. I mean, I think we were the Costco people. Like, we just bought Costco roses, and I was that bride that the night of before my wedding, my bridesmaids and I were putting together arrangements for hours. We weren't even enjoying our night.
We were doing this. We were putting together like the bulletins. Like
I mean, all the DIY stuff that we did, so many things. And then I was also that bride that went on the day of who's lighting the candles? I was standing back there with all these ideas, and my poor mother is running around like making sure all this stuff is done. Because I planned it, but then I didn't have any.
Who's going to put this? Who's going to put this production on?
I'm stuck back here. I can't go out there. So it was a mess in my eyes. But like my mother said, like, nobody knows what didn't happen.
No.
And honestly, that's some of the best advice still today that I use on my brides. It's so true. Because, I mean, as you know, in this industry, we can plan and plan and plan. But when the day comes, you just got to be able to roll with it because things change constantly. There's so many things out of our control. So it's like nobody knows what you didn't do.
Absolutely.
And that's okay.
Yeah, except in the one case in my wedding when we forgot the lighting and it got dark and then they all knew that we forgot the lighting and it got dark.
That happens.
So we're like, cool. We're dancing and it's pitch black.
Yes, right. Just the little details. It's
just
fine.
the little details like light. We're like, oh yeah, it does get dark in the summer. It's 10 o'clock. We should probably do something about that.
Yes. Yeah. But that's where like doing my own wedding and then becoming a planner, that was really helpful because then I realized like what not to do and why planners are so important.
Oh yeah.
Even just a day of coordinator is just, you just get them, please. Invest.
You need someone else as the brain of your wedding.
You do.
Especially on that day.
Yeah. And so coming from a planner background, I think helps me more today as a florist because I really understand the flow of the day. Like what we need in order for it to work the way our brides want. There's just a lot that goes behind the scenes. And especially when we start doing much larger productions, like some of the stuff that you've seen my team and I do.
Yeah.
It's not just an hour before. I mean, we need hours in the day. And then I'm a big proponent to having a room shot. So if you have spent all this money on your florals, we need to get that in your timeline to make sure that we're done on time, but you can get these beautiful room shots. Cause that's probably my biggest pet peeve is not getting the room shots and trying to, cause as soon as guests walk in, it's ruined.
Right.
Like there's just nothing looks the same.
Yeah.
You got purses and bags and coats and it's just ruined.
Yes.
So gotta fit that in.
I saw a meme that one of our mutual like event planners had posted. It was like when the grandma puts her purse and the coat down before the photographer got to take the picture, and they're like, no,
so true. I think all of us are like, no,
yeah, like don't touch it, Or there's that person that the fixer of the wedding that's just, and you're like, just leave it alone. Like you did, that was put there for a reason. Just, don't touch it.
Yeah. Don't leave it alone.
Well, I know you do some big builds, and I hear you have a metal fabricator on staff.
We do.
Okay. Tell me, like, is it your husband? Or
no, it's actually it's back to one of my friends from high school. It's her husband.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
So it's been really wonderful because I love to engineer things. I love to build. That's probably another part of my favorite things to do is if someone comes to me with an idea and we don't have it.
Yeah.
And if we can't find it, we make it. And it's awesome. And he's wonderful. He just rolls with my ideas and like, yeah, let's do it. But a big part for the florist is like, making sure things are structurally sound. We'll see some great arbors or things online. Yeah. And then you get it in and you're like, this is a piece of crap. Like,
what is this?
It's just not made well. It's like you can't for weighted. Make sure things are weighted well and that it's so he'll fix whatever I need or build me whatever I need.
Oh my gosh.
We've built things. I have things in my inventory before they were popular, and that now you can buy on Etsy all the time.
Yeah.
But it's really handy to have that. Just
my gosh,
just to fix whatever we need fixed.
Yeah. That's so neat. I know. My husband is that type of person where he's like, if we need to do it, like, let's just make it.
Yeah.
And so, that's why I was like, it's got to be her husband.
No, not my husband. Nope. Someone else's husband.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect. Well, and the flowers, I mean, once you get a certain amount on there, they've got to be pretty heavy.
Yeah, they can get very heavy very quickly.
Wow. Yeah. My gracious. Let's talk a little bit about the weather conditions because we can have super cold days and super warm days. Do you find that you have to because I don't know anything about flowers, do you find that you have to kind of educate brides as to like this flower will look good at the end of the day if it's 98 degrees and this one will not, so maybe let's swap it out? Or like how do you go about choosing florals that will fit the aesthetic and the weather?
Yeah, so weather does play a part. I've had brides do elopements that are going up to the top of mountaintops and it's going to be negative degrees. And so for that, we've actually, for something like that, I'll suggest we've done silk flowers. But with real fresh greenery. So then that way, if you don't have to worry about it freezing and it was fine. And a lot of times you mix fresh with faux, you can't even tell. I mean, I remember doing it. I was in an indoor installation. It was for one of the bridal fairs.
Yeah.
And we were doing a ceiling install and everything was silk flowers that we were doing because it's ceiling and for weight. And I had all these flowers they're just on the floor in bins. And people would walk by and go, your flowers smell so amazing.
Seriously?
Thanks.
Thank you so
all
much.
fake, but okay.
You go spritz them. rose
So
spray.
it's amazing. Like good quality, people never know. It's part of the industry is that like rule of thumb is if you can't touch it, it's real.
Yeah.
So, and half the time that stuff is fake. So
that's so interesting.
With silk florals. But when it comes to heat, let's be honest, no flower is going to last in 98-degree weather all day long. It's just
true.
as simple as it is. We do try to like be aware. Like we're probably not going to want to say, let's do a entirely hydrangea installation in 100-degree weather and air at 3:00 in the afternoon. Like it's not going to happen. So then that's where we'll talk about maybe supplementing with silk hydrangeas if they have to have that bloom, or then we'll put them in a direction that we can. But that's part of our job is the knowing like how are we going to install, how do we keep things happy, watered, all those kinds of things. So whether you're doing using foam or if you're just using chicken wire, those are all those different methods that come into play. We try to guide as best we can, but there's just no way around it. Hot weather and flowers don't work. So our job is to get them through the day. And that's about it. Like my brides ask all the time and clients, how long should they last? And honestly, my job is to get them to look the best they can on your day. So that means we're pushing them. So when I design a wedding, let's say your wedding's on Saturday, your flowers start to come in on Tuesday.
Okay.
And so we work with them every single day. We touch every bloom Tuesday through Saturday.
Wow.
We're pushing them. We are trying to get them to open, to blow open, get as big and beautiful for your day.
Yes.
So basically, if they die that night or the next day, I did my job because I got them to the best they could be for you. Yeah. So that's what we do. But yeah, so weather's tricky, especially here in the Northwest.
Yeah.
We got the extremes of everything.
Oh, yeah. Have you ever had like a floral emergency where you open the fridge one day and you're like, oh, snap?
Knock on wood. Not yet.
Okay, good. Yay.
No, we try really hard to make sure. I mean, there's been times so that might be somewhat of a lie. 2020 was the hardest year. That was when I learned to become very, very flexible as a florist. I used to be, like a lot of my brides, stuck on specific colors. Like it had to be this perfect blush. And then you only have certain varieties that come in that. And then honestly, because it's Mother Nature, the blush today might be a different color tomorrow or the next week. And every farm's different. The soil, pH balance, it all affects the colors. And then let's talk about the men and women that, and I say men, but your blush and their blush is hot pink. I mean, so when we order, we have wholesalers pulling for us and sending us stuff. So sometimes you say blush, they send hot pink. You're like, okay, how do I work with that?
Yes, spray paint.
Sometimes spray paint. Sometimes we're just ordering again. And that's where that sophisticated color palette comes in and learning to be flexible on your blooms. The idea is to get like an overall feeling from your florals and finding that if you bring in that hot pink with your blush, now you've got more depth. You've got more, your highlights, your lowlights, and they photograph better. It looks nicer. So
beautiful.
I learned to be very flexible in 2020. I learned a lot of new varieties of flowers and to just go with it. And flowers are beautiful. I mean, there's not really an ugly one out there. Yeah. So I did learn in 2020 to be more flexible because it was the shipping issues and you just didn't know. We were to a point where we would go from that Tuesday to Saturday to all of a sudden flowers couldn't get to us till Thursday or Friday for a Saturday. So we're trying to push them open. You're working basically through the night to get these things done and designing. So there are a lot of things that can go wrong on the back end for us. Before the big day, and we just push through and we figure it out.
Yeah, my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, I know for me, before I even entered the wedding industry, I figured, a florist gets the flowers and then they just kind of puts them together and then they wrap some stuff around them. But after talking to more and more florists, they're like, no, this is like a week-long production.
Oh, and then hours of sourcing beforehand. So, for our contract, for my clients, everything has to be paid in full 30 days out. And that's because a month out from your wedding, I'm talking to farms. I am sourcing and holding product. So I know that flowers feel like they're an endless thing, but that's not true. Certain farms only have so many quantities.
Right.
And so we've got to put in, and they service internationally. I order from all over the world. I order from New Zealand, from Holland, from Ecuador, Colombia, California. We do local, but we order everywhere. Japan. I mean, so some of us florists, we spend time in our hours of the day when we're working are so different because, if you're trying to get a hold of somebody in Japan, it's a completely different time zone. So
I never thought about that.
Yeah. Or, who you're working with. And granted, there's brokers locally who also can do that for you. So we're not always, up at weird odd hours, but it's not easy procuring and then trying to figure out your numbers and recipes, because the other thing that florists have to deal with is we have minimums we have to purchase. We can't buy a single rose.
That's true.
It has to be a minimum of 25.
Okay.
So then they come in boxes of 100 and, it's just, there's so much behind the scenes and so much effort in just planning the details and ordering that product. And everything's perishable. So depending on how it ships, sometimes it comes in and you're like, oh, okay, FedEx didn't show up today. Great. And so you get those flowers and now they're completely mush by the time you get them. There's so many things that you have to allocate for and be prepared for and the big what ifs, especially in the Northwest, because we don't have a big rose season.
Yeah.
So sourcing locally is really hard. And a lot of our farms aren't large enough to accommodate a florist like myself, where
you're give me the whole crop.
Pretty much and then, and I try to be as, for what we can. And I love to support our local farmers when we can. But it's so the next thing instead of working with one or two things for shipping, now I've got a list of 12 farms that you have to connect with, make sure delivery is happening. And sometimes I have to go to the farm and pick them myself and, cut them and everything.
Yes.
So
out there with clippers.
Yep, you do.
You have no idea what it took for me to
And I have lots of flower farmer friends, and those people are amazing. They work the hardest out of all of us in this industry, and they're all nuts, I think. I love them, but you guys know it.
You're no, I will arrange them and find them.
I work with dead things. They're on their way out once they get cut. So
yeah, that's true. Oh my goodness. I never thought about all these little nuances and intricacies when it comes to that end of the business.
It's just so many different worlds that you have to work in to get this to come together.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So bride inquires with you. Tell me a little bit about, do you kind of dive into their vision, or what kinds of things do you need to know from a bride to be able to perfectly execute their flowers?
A lot of things.
A lot of things. Tell me all the things.
Something that I think people overlook is the table size and layouts. That's a big thing I need to know. So, when my process, it could probably be better. I don't know. I'm not on their side, but my clients love me so far and I've got great reviews. So I'm doing something
right. There you
right.
go. Yeah.
But it's basically, you reach out. A lot of times they just send an inquiry online and then we'll respond and, figure out time for us to do a consultation. It's usually through Zoom. And we'll just kind of start deep diving into the day, kind of going over through the details. A lot of times when brides reach out to me or my clients, they may not know their timeline yet. And that's okay. We just kind of know the place and the date for now. And then we'll start talking about their vision. We'll ask them to send us over all their Pinterest. Whatever they have that they have pinned that they love, I like to see all of it.
Yeah. No, you're fine. I know we've all got the stuff going on this time of year.
So I like to see all of it because I find that I'm able to pick up on maybe what they love. I'm sure you've seen Pinterest boards too, and some things you kind of
weave throughout.
Yeah, yes. You kind of get an idea of okay, you've got a lot of this. I kind of see where you're going with your image, but not every. Some photos are wow, and some are barely anything.
Yes.
So I just find it helps me to get a better feel for their aesthetic that they're going for, to view all of that, and then from there we just kind of start talking about all the details. We'll talk about the dream wedding, and creating what does the dream look like to you, and financially, as we know, that doesn't work for everybody.
Yeah.
And so it's pretty common to build the dream and then to scale back and to identify what moments are the most important moments. What's the most impactful to them?
Yeah.
And that's where we're going to try to beef up the design there, whether it's at the ceremony or if it's at the reception. What areas, where do we put the money? How do we make it work best for you? And so that kind of tends to be the process. And then you do a lot of editing. I mean, a lot of times my clients will book a year in advance.
Yeah.
and which is a lot of time.
Yeah.
So we might wait a little till we're a little closer to start doing a lot of the designs and a lot of the like the renderings, because those take a lot of time to do with your colors and the blooms and finding all of that. Because there's not a program. Like I basically have to create this like all myself through Canva and like all the little tricks that you learn.
Gosh.
But so it takes so much time, and with the way trends are right now, I mean, a year can be so long that they start one way with me, and then by the time we actually get to the day, we've gone in a completely different direction.
Yeah, absolutely.
So which is fine. But we just need the gist of everything, and like the big things are, to really understand what your table layout's going to be. And that's, every florist is different. I can't really speak to what other people do. I can only speak to really what I do. And for me, I don't offer different sized arrangements. Like you don't pick a small, a medium, or a large.
Okay.
And the reason for that is number one, it's my brand. I have an aesthetic that I love and that my business reflects, I think, to others. And so when clients come to me, I think they expect to get what they see.
Yes.
Right. And so if I start offering sizes, like let's put a small on a 6-foot round. And you may know this, but a 5-foot round is the normal size table. A 6-foot round is not. And if you go with a small arrangement on a 6-foot, it's going to look dinky.
Yes.
Yeah. It's just going to look like out of place. And so that's where I feel like my professional comes in. Like I am giving you, based off of what you tell me, the things that are going to be the most impactful, look the best.
Yes.
And I'm not willing to sacrifice for my brand also because, like no one's going to say, oh, the bride picked something too small. It's going to say, oh, the florist, that's a small range.
Yeah, she didn't do her job. Yeah, exactly.
So definitely understanding like your table layout. So are we doing rounds and also like long tables? If you're doing long tables, how long? And I need to know how wide they are.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times those long tables aren't very wide. And so if we're doing a big table layout, like if we've got your 3 or 4 different types of glassware, if you're doing a
the chargers.
Thank you. The charger, plate, solid plate, all the things, and candles and all the stuff. So then how much room do I have left for your florals? So, so those, I think that's a big thing is the table size is really, really important. Because also for me, I design big. That's just, I don't realize how big the stuff is sometimes until other planners or people show up and they're like, whoa, and their eyes go, and I'm like, what?
That's awesome.
They're like, what, is this like an extra large? I'm like, no, that's just normal.
This is normal? Like, this is the Theresa.
Know. So maybe I need to like start visiting other weddings. I don't know.
I think you should do your thing, and then people love that.
Yeah, I just do me. So, you got to find what you love and stick with that. And just sometimes you have to put blinders on. It's
yes. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, this has been so good.
Oh, good.
I love this. This is awesome. Last question for you.
Sure.
Do you have any like core pieces of advice you'd give to a bride when planning her wedding, regardless of who she's talking to floral wise? Is there like that one thing where you're like, this?
Like one thing as in like do this specific thing, or
do this specific thing, or be sure you XYZ, or like I know for me, if people are looking at another makeup artist, I'm like, make sure you ask them about these things. Or like, what's a piece of advice you would give to a bride on her wedding day?
Oh my gosh, I don't know that.
That's okay.
What do I advise? Okay, so number one, I want every one of my brides to have a planner outside of the venue planner. Like they need to have someone, if they truly just want to enjoy their day and just be really present with the people that mean the most to them, hire a planner first and foremost, because they're just going to be the ones to navigate the day for you.
Yes.
And to deal with any hiccups or issues, timeline. Like there's no reason for you to be stressing out about that. Yeah. So that's probably number one.
Yeah.
But, gosh, I don't know.
That's great.
It's a good but tough question.
I think getting a planner is so huge. And I will every once in a while have a bride that's like, I don't have a planner. And I'm like, okay, well, who is going to be the person that goes behind the scenes and does those things? Like if you're not going to have a planner or a day coordinator, make sure you have that appointed person that whether you give them money or not, whether they're hired, whether it's your aunt or somebody that's going to be able to go and do those little things for you and be the gopher.
I don't know. I'm just a huge component to just hiring the professionals to do their jobs.
Yes.
I was the bride who DIY'd.
Mm-hmm.
I get budgets.
Same.
I can't afford me. Like, if I met with me, I tell myself, go fancy. That's not happening.
Nice try.
But I'm a DIYer at heart. You know, that's who I am. Yep. But on the days like this, the once in a lifetime, your very special days, if you can hire the people that do it all the time. And then, because then your day will be so magical, as perfect as it probably can be. Mm-hmm. You know, so that one's huge for me. As far as like against other florists or what to look for, you know, the biggest advice is to go with the person you trust. Mm-hmm. You know, I hate being price shopped. Like that's a pet peeve. And I'm sure all of us feel that way. Yeah. But it's really, and it's not about like, you know, for me, flowers cost what they cost. Like, there's no, we need to make money because we need to stay in business. Yes. You know, I need to pay for my kids' bills, like the braces, all the things, you know, we're living life too. Yeah. So we got to pay our bills. We need to also be able to stay in business. Mm-hmm. That's part of it too. Mm-hmm. Right. And secondly, though, is that you do pay for what you get. Yes. You know, there is a difference out there. And there's a difference between like, I am what we call we are I can't remember the name. Just kidding, guys. I don't know.
Just kidding. I'm not calling anything.
So we are what we consider a full service florist. So basically that means we do it all. So my team and I, we will show up like you've seen us with our big trucks and stuff, and our team's unloading, and we will do everything. We set it all up, and then we even design on site. So a lot of times if I can, and if the time of the day works, and if we have the product on hand, if I can surprise my brides with something extra, I will. Yeah. You know, that's just the way that we are and the way that we work. It's not always just like, they didn't pay for that, we can't do it. It's more like, ooh, I got some blooms left over. Let's throw those over there. Let's do this.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
You know, if the timeline allows and if we have the product. Yeah. You know, so we try to always like basically like undersell ourselves, but then like show up over the top. Right. There's that whole phrase. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah. Sorry, listeners.
I do what I say I'm going to do, but then I also do a little bit more.
Yes. Like, you know, it's always, we do more than what they expect. Yes. You know, and that's just part of who we are. My team is also, like we train this, that we are there to execute the day fully. So if that means someone else needs help, if a table needs to be moved, if some chairs need to be pulled, my team's, as long as we're getting our job done, we're going to jump in and help other vendors wherever we can. You know, and then of course we come back at the end of the night and we clean it all up. We take it all back with us.
Huge, which is huge.
It is huge. I think a lot of people forget about the end of the night and the strike.
Well, they think about the service and they don't think about, oh crap, now we have all these flowers and what are we going to do with them?
I mean, how many times have you been told, oh, my uncle's going to take that? You're like, oh, the drunk uncle that just left.
That guy, the one who.
I mean, like even as a planner, it'd be like, where are the people that were supposed to take all this home in their vehicles? Oh, they're gone. Okay. All right.
Gone. Excellent. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, it's just knowing kind of like the services that you're really wanting, like understanding that difference of like, you know, are you fine with just someone coming and dropping stuff off and calling it a day? And then you've got to figure out how to get all this stuff back. Because a lot of my clients too are like, yes, I want all my flowers. I'm like, okay, you want all your flowers. So yeah, we want all. Okay. And then like they see it all on the tables at the end of the night and they're like, we don't have room for all of these flowers.
You're like, see the truck that I brought?
Yeah. So
that was full.
Yeah, very full. So, you know, I'm probably off a tangent.
No, I love it.
Yeah. So those are the things, I guess, is just really understanding the services that you're looking for and understanding like, what does the florist A versus B florist, what do they provide in those services? Do you really trust them? Do you feel they're going to execute your vision? Do they have the team to execute the vision? Yeah. You know, those kinds of things, I think are really important. And then, and then hire a planner, guys. Hire the professionals.
Hire the professional. Yeah.
We've lived this and we've been through the ups and downs and, you know, all the things. We've seen it all. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Well, Theresa, thank you.
Oh,
this has been fantastic. Where can listeners find you online?
Okay, so you can follow us on Instagram, on Facebook. We're also on our website, Pinterest, and hopefully more platforms soon. I don't know. Anna and I were talking about this. Like, you wear so many hats. I'm trying, guys.
They're like, is there another platform? No, there's not.
Yeah,
there are
just call me.
Zero more platforms.
Just call me. Text is good too.
Text is good too. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for joining me on another episode of Talk Bridal to Me. I hope you have a day where you truly feel beautiful. We'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.